Only man, it's last year. Rastafari. Give thanks to the Most High. Only the 7. Oh, yeah, God, yeah. Rastafari. Like again, another video with the priest. Thanks for King Emmanuel, our President, God and King. Give thanks for the 7 stroke. I bring you stroke to kill the Pope. I bring you drum sound on the hour of coming down setting. Yeshua family. I want to send my little pardon for earlier. This rising, we had an excellent video going on. You know, a topic on the soul. But believe it or not, that message was so intense. The message was so particular that only the viewers, I sincerely pardon the viewers that were not able to catch that video earlier this morning on, you know, the soul. What is the soul? That was an awesome video, you know, that was put together. And I started to say a lot of stuff that I should not do on YouTube. I mean, it was the information, this, you know, the spirit in flesh was just, even everyone in the comment section, they was so atoned. I mean, yeah, but we were kind of getting out of hand because, you know, we were starting to use some words, some stuff that YouTube does not approve. So believe it or not, you know, during the broadcast, we had some technical difficulties and it cut the video, the live video short. And also it did not even save the video. So I couldn't even post it for other viewers who have missed it to be able to see it. The, you know, video is totally eradicated. Those who watched, oh, it was such a great message. So we just gonna go with it. We can accept what happened and, you know, we can move on with it. Today, I wanted to do something a little different, you know. I wanted to do a little Q&A, question and answer, you know, because a lot of times as I always hear, you know, reasoning. You know, enough times I come with a subject, so, you know, trying to make sure we reason sufficiently on the subject to get what we can. You know, I often, you know, don't get to attend to all the questions, attend to all the comments. So what I want to do today, I just want to randomly, you know, roll up my ganja kite. You know, I'm going to sit back with ones and we're going to reason, you know, any topics, any questions ones have, you know, one's free to ask, you know what I mean? About the priesthood life, about, you know, anything much, respectively, you know what I mean? Yes, of course, in the meantime, you know, I can touch on, you know, a little bit of what we was talking about this morning in the soul and, you know, it's just, you know, even I just had a conversation with a bobo brethren and they was talking about, you know, the funeral services and stuff like that, you know, and yeah, it's with that understanding. Once we understand, you know, what our soul is, then this whole grave, all that kind of stuff, you know, it makes sense to us eventually, you know. Yeah, our spirit is God's own. Our flesh belongs to the dead. So when you drop this flesh, the spirit goes to God, you know. So a true death of a man is really his consciousness, his lack of consciousness of his God self. So when his flesh drop, you know, a man that is not of God sees himself as died. I died. I'm dead. You know, but a child of God or a man of God understands the natural process of life. That, you know, God takes up a flesh, lives on earth, and drop that flesh and take up another flesh, lives on earth. God been doing this for thousands of years. It's an ever-living God. You see, so the whole cry over the dead and when this one dead, they going to heaven or going to hell, it's not even in the scriptures, hell and heaven is on earth, but like I said, I don't want to go on too much of myself. Who we have here today? Who we reasoning with today? Live on the chat. I see we have 2 viewers so far. Blessed love. Give thanks for coming in and tuning into the channel. On the Black Again channel, we try to use common sense to address common events in life. You know what I mean? We use the Bible as our rally and refuge point, as the King of Kings teaches. It's a lot of wisdom and knowledge and understanding, in the Bible. That's where one of the subjects, let the dead bury the dead. In that sense, the dead means people that don't understand that you are flesh and spirit. Your spirit is God. The flesh belongs to the earth. You see, so, there's no death, It's something like an apple tree or, let's say, a coconut tree. The coconut tree, one day it fall apart, but it have another tree coming up. That's why it bears coconut, to keep the life going on. So you can't really say the coconut tree died. No. It was replaced by a younger coconut tree. So the younger coconut tree could grow old and be replaced by a younger coconut tree. So through religion and all kind of searching to live forever, a lot of humans, just not today. Humans from creation been trying to find out, how can we live forever? What can we eat? What can we do? What can we drink? What is the science? How do you keep this flesh forever? And that's where a lot of religion came in, when they was promising people, well, if you accept this faith, you have your flesh forever. They even tell some people, when you drop this flesh, later on, you can come back and pick it up out the grave. And, it's just a lot of promises because people want to live forever. People don't want to die. You see? Because remember, again, die is a misconception. That's why when the reporter asked the emperor about death, the emperor looked at her like, what is she talking about? That's a European concept. It's a Kemetic concept. It's a false concept that if you live this perfect life, or if you live, a life of any sort of science, you could have this flesh forever. To the emperor, that was foreign. Rastafari was like, what are you talking about? That's not common sense. Look at nature. You see a baby elephant turns to a big elephant. And then the big elephant has a baby, and then the big elephant drop that structure. And then the baby elephant take it up and become a big elephant. Everything in the world does that. That's called life, not death. You see the difference? Yeah, they have a death teachings. They teach you that you're going to die. But if you look in nature, you're not really dying. It's called life. Life means you come here, you grow big, like the elephant, you have children, then you lay down the structure, and then your child takes up that role. That's been going on for centuries and millenniums. People been doing the same thing, and they're still doing it today. There is some talks about Elijah being caught up with God and, not seeing death. That can be misinterpreted. Because it's according to what you call death. Elijah could have received the conception that was necessary to avoid death, which was the understanding that there is no such thing as death. It's only procreation. God is the life, it can't die. And the flesh is the dust, it can't go away. You can't get rid of dirt. You can't kill dirt, and dirt can't dead. Dirt change form. Yeah, that's all it do. You wet it, it turn into clay. You remove the water, it turn into dust. The water in our goodie is God. The bread, the oxygen, H2O, hydrogen and oxygen, that's God. The consciousness, that's God. But the flesh, that's dirt. You can't kill dirt. Dirt has no feelings. The feelings which you feel is not the dirt. The feelings is the nerves connected to the tissues. The tissues connected to the emotions. That's connected to the soul. Listen me with soul. Connected to the heart, to the consciousness. Yeah, that's how you feel. When people say you don't have a heartache, you don't have a conscience, you don't have feelings. Yeah, it has nothing to do with your flesh. Yeah, when you pinch your flesh, that's not the dirt feeling it. That's the nerve behind the dirt, sending a message. The nerve is the blood. They call it nervous cells. They blood cells also. They have blood in them. They carry message, electronically to the brain to give you emotion, to let you know you're getting pinched. If you lose the nerve in your hand, you could do anything to this dirt. You ain't gonna feel that. Because dirt has no feelings. You can't kill dirt, bro. So dirt can't die. And that's all it is, dirt and spirit. So when the spirit, God's spirit, leave you, no. If you and God's spirit is one, God's spirit can't leave you because you is God. So when you reach old of age and you're ready to lay down this dirt, you as God will leave this dirt, bro, and go into the eternal realms consciously. Yeah, you just know, say, I going to where I supposed to be in the realms of life, not going to die to think you're going to float around in the sky and talk to your people on earth, like how they say ancestors looking down. Oh, that foolishness, that ain't no true. Bible said dead man has no consciousness, neither none to go down to the pit. Once you drop this flesh, that's it. The consciousness of God is a living God. God consciousness don't dwell in the dead. So when you drop this flesh and the Spirit of God leave, that Spirit of God is going to find flesh and dwell in it. Yeah, the Spirit of God has to manifest in flesh. Let there be light. Let there be waters. Let there be animals. Let there be trees. Let there be man made in my own image. That's God manifests himself in flesh, the Spirit of life in flesh. So we could see it. So the humans who live in could continue to see this life force. You don't want God to die with you and be in the dead world dealing with you, and then what happened to the children who live in? No. No. So, yeah, that's where the fear of death and all this stuff come from. It really come from the teachings, the Roman Catholic teachings. Yeah. They come to tell the people, they come from Kemet. Kemet say when you die, they can bomb you, and then your soul gonna go before Anubis, and they gonna weigh your heart, and then they can decide where you gonna live in the afterlife. Afterlife? That sounds very Christian. Because the Christian come from the Kemetic society. There were 13 popes in Egypt, Kemet, before there was one pope in Rome. You have to understand that. The Roman Catholic Church come from Kemet. And it's them telling the people the afterlife. When you die, you go into this heaven. You go into this hell. You go into this place where the soul goes. Because they trick us and we don't even know what the soul is. The soul is a combination between the Spirit of God and your flesh. That don't go nowhere, bro. The flesh go to the dirt and the Spirit of God go and find flesh to dwell in. When you breathe out air, you think the air just disappear? No, the airs go find someone to go into. When you breathe out this tree, yeah, the tree will take my carbon dioxide in, and they live off of that. So when someone die and they give off, when they say die, when someone drop their flesh and give off the breath that go into the trees and carry on life. It don't waste. It just keep, yeah, you're an ever-living being. You're part of an ever-living universe, an ever-living consciousness. You can't die. Where you going? Got nowhere to go. Your flesh, it will turn forward to the dust, you see, and become a part of the dust. Just like the coconut tree, it drop and it become a part of the dust. But you say, but we ain't better than coconut trees? We ain't better than animals? Come on, man, Bubba, man. We could avoid that. Animals can so much. Plants can so much. We could prolong plants' life and our life. They can't prolong their own life. We have a dominion. We have a little hierarchy of consciousness as the gods, you see. But God must know who he is. God is an eternal being. Coming through flesh, through flesh, through flesh, through flesh, through time. That's all who God is. You know what I mean? It would be nice to live in this flesh forever. I don't think so. You know, as you get older, unless you keep it young, like when you 21, after you start reach 60, 70, 80, and you know, and the flesh get wrinkled and you know, you don't want to be in that too long, you know. Just saying, you know. But I would want to be in my structure forever. I mean, freedom God. I ain't chanting no that, bro. You know, but like I say, it's still understanding. You know, I can't go against what's natural as much as I may want to. You know, if nature and the consciousness before me extend my life, even eternally, that'll be a surprise to me. That's like a gift. Because I don't see that out there in nature. I don't see nobody out here living forever in their flesh. I don't see no cow, you know, no nothing, no bird living forever. These things is die. Which means not die, but these things is let me find the right word. I hate to use that word die. These people follow the natural process of life. The animals follow the natural process of life. The trees follow the natural process of life. You see? That's natural. It have nothing to do with that. You see, but it's very soaked into our culture. It's soaked into our system. Yeah, in the schools and you know, yes, honorable. Yeah, man. From we was a youth, we was reading books. Speaking of things, dying and death and all these things, and it traumatized you. It may put a great fear in you. We're supposed to be reading books with a great understanding. You know, instead of the book saying he died, you know what I mean? You know, more understanding. You know, this is a pass on of life. Things come, they spend time here, then they move on, and other things come. That remove the fear and give more of an understanding because you can't break that. No one has ever been able to break the cycle. The emperor himself, Rastafari, say, many will come after me, yeah, and replace, yeah, the generation to come. Yeah, I ain't say the king up. I never say that. Long live the king. He live as long as he want to live. But the man say generations coming. A lot of generations. This is a world that ain't have no end. So we got infinity of generations. Infinity. So that's when you start to think logically, okay, yeah, I see what the priest saying. You know, if everyone live forever, everyone have to live infinite. Everyone on this planet living for infinity, having children, that ain't, we on children gonna fit. Where everybody gonna fit? If everybody living to infinity, I mean, nobody even getting old. You know, I don't know. It could happen, but according to what we see is natural, you know, we could open up our consciousness to a gift of eternal life in the sense of in one flesh. We could open up our consciousness to it, but at the same time, we want to be aware of what's realistic. That, it is a custom, for a human to take on a flesh, live out their life, grow old, have children, and drop their flesh. And then the children, that's how we get here. Yeah, my grandfather, father before him, all of them was me. They was right there sitting down talking to people, yapping, talking about God and laughing and gaga. They every generation before me. Before I was doing the same thing, yapping and talking about eternal life and wondering when the day. And, it was pointless because it's the obvious. You don't think about the obvious. But it was the fear what made people worry about when I can die. I go into hell or heaven, but it's inevitable, it's natural, so they didn't need not to spend their life worried about that. Yeah, because it's natural. Unless something supernatural happens for you, when you reach about 80, 90, you are going to drop this structure. You're going to have to put this old, tired, dusty flesh down and let the spirit go into a younger flesh. Just say you can't put new wine into old bottle. Every new generation is a new wine. They have a new style. They have a new fashion. They have a new, level of intellect to maintain the future. Yeah, and that old bottle, it's like the phones today, the youths ahead of us. Like how we was ahead of our parents with remote control of the TV. They didn't even know how to shift the TV. And their parents before them didn't have a TV, bro. So you imagine someone who didn't have a TV today trying to keep up with an iPhone? That's an old wine bottle. The new technology, the new world would not fit in. That's why when the emperor came, His Majesty realized that his Ethiopian people, they was not concept so much of what life is. Life is to modify and adjust, just like plants. Plants have to modify and adjust with time to keep survival. So what the king do? He modernized Ethiopia. He modernized the people. To bring them up to a standard to live in their time, to be able to survive in their time. Because they were living like what their fathers. They were still pushing and oxen thing and climate change coming. Climate change coming, people still pushing oxen thing and thinking like the old days, like the rain can come and then farming in Ethiopia. Ethiopia had no modernization to strengthen them from the farming. They had to seek other nations because they were not equipped. They were trying to fit new problems into old bottles. And the king said that he could work. So the king make all his younger people governors and, leaders and stuff in his country. He opened up the country to young leadership. You see? Because of the understanding. He was working within the time of the matrix. That you have a time to do what you have to do. Then the next generation has to follow you. So you can't sit back and be pushing, behind a cow and a farming coming. Bro, you need to get up in technology, bro, and try to get some solar power, get some solar something, and get something, bro. To make sure Ethiopia survive the worstest conditions that the world can offer. That's what mankind's supposed to do, domain the earth. No matter how challenging it gets. We're supposed to have dominion. We're supposed to come together and figure out things. Because it's our world. Your world and mine, Luciano say, blessed love, royal family. So, Yes, well, family. That's what King Emmanuel come in his time to, teach us. Don't penetrate that, bro. Penetrate life. Live life. That's like a natural occurrence. You don't even know when it gonna happen. You really, really know how it gonna happen. And for the elders, not for them used to choose. Yeah, when they reach a old age, they used to call all their sons, all their daughters, the handmaids, the family. They used to talk to them and bless them and everything. And they just used to wrestle and give up their breath. They stop struggling to breathe and they just let it go. I watch an elderly woman, mama was like 90 something, 94, something like 95, something like that. I watch mama look at us and talk and everything, and then like in a couple hours, she just started to give up her breath until she gave it up. And I say, Rastafari. Yeah, Rastafari, I say natural. I say that's dread, eh? I say that's dread. Her flesh remained there, but her breath of spirit, the car, I see it leave. I was a little child then. My mommy had me there, and she was like, and then the car leave. She went, and she just rest, bro. And the goodie just, it just stay there, and her car leave, and they come gather the flesh, and they do their rituals to bury and all that stuff, but. At that moment, I know that mama serve her time. I had a time where I fell in love with a pit bull. I had a pit bull named Gaza. You know, he was a striped pit bull, like the tiger striped pit bull. So I got very close to this pit bull, man. I mean, like real. It was only me, my Gates, me, and my Pity. We were one night. Eventually I met a sister and excited to go, be with the sister. I ain't get into that. Let me just stick with the dog. They blocked the video, ja. No ja. Early in the video, I did the explanation. So once I drop this one, you could go back to the beginning of the video and give you a little short reasoning on it. Once I seal this up, and I can show you what really going down, but just a short reasoning. But anyway, back to the Gaza dog thing. Thanks for asking. Honorable Cartoons, blessed be said, yes, royal family. Back to this dog thing, right? Gaza. So I met the sister, excited to go with the sister to the movies that night. And I forget to put Gaza up, because he'd be on a chain out in the day, and then he'd go in his cage in the night. I take the chain off. I was rushing. I opened up the cage. He run inside the cage, and I didn't disconnect the chain. Gone to movies, had a good time with the sister, come home. Yes, sis, blessed love. The dog hanging. Yeah, and not to laugh, but my dog was hanging. I mean, that chain, because he was twisting, trying to fight, because he was an aggressive pit bull. So he always trying to get out the cage, irregardless. And with the chain on him, he just went haywire. He felt claustrophobic and he hung himself. Oh, ja. I take the chain off the dog and I take the dog out and I shaking the dog and I pressing the dog's stomach. I ran by the top. I get some water. I poured over the dog face, slap the dog, like, wake up, bro. Dog gone. The car. The life gone. You can't bring that back, bro. I hope I could. I mean, they say some scientists could do it. The Black Christ, the ancient scientist. They say he gone to Lazarus and he take the car, the life, and put it back into Lazarus. And Lazarus rise and live. Yeah, and I mean, not just the Bible. They have couple ancient glories that tell you, people transfer their life into someone that give up their life and return the life. The Chinese call it the lotus, to give off chi. They call it chi, energy. Ka is all the same thing. It's the breath of life. It's the God. They breathe the God into the flesh, and Lazarus become a living soul again. Yeah, the ancients used to chi. They used to breathe chi into you, touch you, chi, life, and yeah, bring people back. Yeah, real talk. Do some research on it. But I wasn't able to do it to this pit bull. This pit bull had it. This dog been, yeah, and yeah, it was dreadful. It was very dreadful. It leave a lot of questions. I was like, what the hell? One day this thing is with I being chi. Yeah, man, I being same thing. I love everyone that is pure this child. Bless him, honorable Ras child. Big up yourself. I gotta get back to the reasoning now. The video didn't block the video. Just put it where we had some technical difficulties and we lose the video, which was kind of working in our favor because there was a lot of things in there. I doubt they probably was gonna ban me for a good while because we talk about some stuff that I sure they say, priest, don't talk about that stuff on YouTube. Don't talk about that stuff on our page. We can ban you. Because I guess they have their legal bindings with these major companies and major government leaders and all these different stuff. So Facebook has a bind too. They have to be careful of what they allow, or government and all these people come down on them. They only a company. They're not really. Facebook is not really a government or some kind of coup. With Abraham or someone leading. Facebook. No, Facebook and YouTube. They just companies owned by wealthy people. So yes, royal family. That I experienced with the dog. Shoei and I like. Yeah, that's what really happened to the video. Real talk. That's what really gone with the video. So just put it where who watched it. Yeah, they got what they need out of it. Because that was for who all was there. It was some powerful information there. Same said way. But like I say, back to the dog. Yes, blessed be said. Back to the dog, and it at a young age it teach me like, whoa, life dread. Like teens live, and when the car leave, if you can't put that life forward, that car, it gonna rotten. I could keep that dog as long as I want. I could embalm that dog, but the car gone, and that's why the pharaohs. Now we can see where all this burial society came from. The pharaohs believed that through their connection with the astral gods, Ra, Sun Ra, Man Ra, Star Cyrus B, all these were different gods, energy gods. They proclaim if they build a casket, embalm their goodie, cover themselves with certain metals, years later, they would find a way to restore the car back into that goodie. So even you see the archaeologists going into Kemet to retrieve these mummies is because they want to perform or continue the science. They're trying to perfect to see if they could resurrect the pharaohs using them same old bodies. That's why the pharaohs' bodies was preserved so well. Every now and again throughout the centuries, they would go into these tombs and they would remove one of the pharaohs. That was not to steal gold. There wasn't grave robbers. You can't even get in Egypt, bro. You can't even get in Kemet talk about rob. You will die. That's a dangerous place. That's the desert. Yeah, you can't just rob things and go where? You didn't have flights back in the day, You did. American airline, Ethiopian airline to fly into Canada and thief something and carry it out. You had camels. How fast you could get away on a camel? Could these people been thieving these things for years? Not in the 18th century, not in the 15th century, not in the 12th century. BC, they've been going into Kemet and taking these tombs out. To do what? Yeah, to practice their science, their chematology. modern day Christianity, Freemasonry, where they practice through their readings and they use certain minerals and parts of people's body, all these different things to try bring these people back to life. Some Frankenstein stuff. They still trying. They still trying today. I ain't making this up. You all know this. They all about trying to find where they could put life into the dead. That's their mission. They want to live forever and they want to control that. That's what all these oxygen masks and all these things they be doing, hooking people up, and now they're going into AI, artificial intelligence, to try live longer again. They rather make their whole body a robot and just keep the brain, the consciousness, to try live forever. Because they know the flesh, it can fail them. The arms of flesh can fail you. You dare not trust your own. I have to laugh because as you get older, you get wiser. Let me check the comment section. I promise. Question and eight. It's not about I and I alone, it's about the comment section today. So let's go in. Why do you know about the Moorish? What do I know about the Moorish people? The Moorish. Okay. Moorish science. Okay. Okay, let's go with the Moorish. The Moors. The Moors descendants of Kemet same said way. In a later time, we got to deal with dispensations. There were different times, thousands of years. Different people rule this earth. Certain period of our journey in life, the Moors, they were great black intelligent people that studied in Alexandria, the University of Alexandria and Kemet. The Moors studied there, and various universities that were erecting around and around, but they were mostly black universities. Black people were the scholars. It was the Moors who actually went into Europe and they built Europe. While in building Europe, they discovered the Europeans. Yeah, these were the people who were in the Caucasus Mountains. They were nomads way up in the northern mountains, living in ice, backwards eating of the skull of their dead. Yeah, running around. They didn't bathe, all they teeth, big black greasy stuff on their hair and everything, just rat tail and thing wrap up in it. Yeah, this was the Europeans. This when we was in college as black people. Yeah, when we were professors and we were going throughout the earth building these Kemetic societies. The pyramids in South America, pyramids in China, pyramids in Australia, all over the world. That was the first civilization. The pyramid society, you see, was worldwide. So royal family, the extension of the pyramid society is what we know the modern day Freemasonry, which built America, built everywhere. Everywhere is built off of Freemason, 33-degree Freemason, which is the Moors again. The Moors coming from Kemet, with this Freemasonry. The pyramid itself is Pythagoras theorem. When you measure the base by the height, it's squared. That's before, we brought it to the books, to the universities. We had already mapped it out in material form, using thousands of blocks. So the Moors were very intelligent people, bro. I mean, very scientific, very up there. And it was them who went to these Europeans, from the Caucasus Mountain, what they call Caucasians. They went to the Caucasian and they teach them how to bathe, teach them how to write literature, teach them a lot of things. And then the Europeans come back from the Caucasus Mountain, the Caucasians, and take over the world. So that was always my problem with Kemet, because Kemet didn't get it. Ethiopia was trying to tell Kemet, don't give the world this knowledge. God tells Satan, don't give these Eve and Adam, don't give them that knowledge. Because if you give them the knowledge, they can go do wickedness with it, bro. So what Adam and Eve do? What Kemet do? Kemet give the Moors, then they give the European the knowledge. They teach them how to build nuclear weapons. Then the Moors, the people from Kemet teach the world how to build nuclear weapons. Yeah, go on the walls of Kemet and you will. Yeah, we're back. And every time this conversation getting sweet, send it on triple. Yeah, so all this stuff come from Kemet, that whole teachings of science. Yeah, we taught the Europeans everything they know, how to brush their teeth, how to build a car. Everything come from our schematics, the word I was looking for. There's already schematics on the walls, in the glyphs, in our papyrus readings. There's a lot of things they hiding from us. I wouldn't talk about when you get into the Kabbalah, when you get into the Jew or the Hebrew or the Black Ethiopian teachings, Enoch, all these different things. Always a lot of science in these books. That's why they took a lot of them out of the Bible. Because there's a lot of science, there's a lot of information, you see, that could be used, if not correctly, in the wrong way. And that's what the Freemason Society been doing for years. Reverse psychology, all these different things they use on the people. That's Kemetic science, you see. Yes, royal family. So the Moorish science and the temples in America, they are connected for sure, because the pyramids in America, South America, they were part of a pyramid society. The pyramid in Egypt, South America, China, all over, they were kind of roughly built around the same time, but at different barons, different barons at time. Because when you look at it today in our modern Kemet, you got America built up its, city. Then after them, then Russia, then this one started building up their city. Each of these city represent a pyramid, you see, a building block of society, what we call Freemasonry. So they build a new Kemetic world, a new Kemetic society. Same said way, so, which is not really bad in a sense, but you could use it for bad. You could oppress people, or you could help people with this kind of society. You could collectively come together and give justice to everyone, or you could be unjust. So what the Moorish taught the Europeans, the Caucasians, I guess it could be used for good and bad, but the Europeans showing you today what they use it for. The minute they figure out the chemistry of making gunpowder, they put that chemistry together, and then they make a slingshot. They make a slingshot with a reactor to this gunpowder that makes a bullet. And that was the creation of the gun. I don't know if the black man or the white man make it first, but whoever hold that knowledge of the gun, that was the beginning of the, I don't know what you call it. Every human thought they was the most powerful person in the world because of that gun. And most of all, the Caucasian race. When they take hold of that gun, they run a rampage to the earth. Campaign into Kemet, Alexandria, the Greek. They campaign into Africa. Colonized the whole Africa with that gun. Australia. Colonized the indigenous people in Australia with the gun. They gone in the Americas. They colonized the Caribs with the gun. They utilized that gun to do a lot. But who taught them? Who gave them these things? So when the Bible speaks of when God tell Adam and Eve, you cannot eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, people say it's all fairy tale. But when you teach people good and evil, they gonna have a choice. And the Caucasians use the evil of the knowledge. Because you have to be a God to understand. You need to keep the good and leave the bad. Anyone could be bad, but there's a result for that. So this is no new knowledge to God. God is aware of good and evil. He's aware of light and darkness. That's God. But you need to be aware. So to avoid all of this, God wanted to keep us away from that dark knowledge. Keep it contained. And that's why these smarty pants, professors and doctors and lawyers, they're going around the world, the Moors, and teach these people our science, teach people our science. And other people using it against us. They making disease and giving it to you from the Moors science. That's what God tells Solomon. Don't go fool these other nations. Don't marry these nations and give them your science. How you think the Caucasian Europeans get the Kabbalah, the Solomonic Kabbalah, and using it for witchcraft? Where they get it from? Solomon gave it to them. He married one Caucasian woman. Yeah, and teach her our science. Yeah, and they're using it right against us now. We even forget our own science because we come away from it. But they know it, you see, so. If you go into the illuminated society, almost natural for the black man. Yeah, for all humanity, everything come from Africa. But, we must rule Africa again. We must rule the world again. Yeah, because we have the knowledge, but we know how to contain it. We have an understanding as Africans. We have more experience with life. We've been here longer on this planet. So we understand everyone could shoot a nuclear bomb. Duh. Everyone can enrich uranium. Duh. Africans been know these things. We could make weapons of mass destruction. But what sense it make to destroy each other? That's the African consciousness. It's okay to know bad, but why use it and destroy yourself? Why not take the good and enjoy life? That's why most African, tribes back in the day before colonialization, they only eat, drink, and play around all day. Many of them still kind of do it still today. Because it's better to take life and enjoy it than to take the science and then you building guns and nuclear and I'll destroy you. China, I will destroy you. America, I will destroy you. So that's what they do with our knowledge. So the Moors, they flop. They flop. They flop. All of these different groups, they flop. The pharaohs, they flop. Because they didn't understand, bro. Kemet was going good until you start letting them people in. Hyksos. You bring all these different people in. When you start bringing these people in, pollution, bro. They can teach you science, take your daughters and change your culture and do all kind of things here. That's what God was telling Adam and Eve. Don't listen to the serpent. Don't get into his world. He can corrupt yours. And that's what God tells us today as servants, as bobo shanti. Bobo shanti, don't mix up with these people things. They science and all them different things. Stick to what I teach, I unite them. You know what I mean? In this time, you know what I mean? So that's what I know of the Moorish people, very intelligent black people. But at the same time, could have been a little wiser on how they share this knowledge, Yeah, but it was all a part of prophecy too. I give thanks for the understanding. It was all a part of prophecy. Everything happened for a reason. The Caucasian had to learn this, to fulfill prophecy, to become the Roman Catholic Church, to become this United Nation leader, America. All of this had to happen. And that's what's so amazing about the Bible, because it talks about all these things. Tell you how the Moorish people can give these Europeans, all this power. Yeah, the Jews give up their birthright to the Gentiles and let the Gentiles rule the world. The Europeans, that's what black people do. We sit down and let the Europeans say they rule the world. The same people we teach how to bathe and how to read and write. We was here millions of years before they even exist. They are children, but we made them later on as a society. We were super black for many, many years and living life. But now, they trick us. They come take our knowledge of life, tell us we can die. All those Africans can die. They over there dancing and worshiping this and that. When y'all die, I can send y'all to hell. My white Jesus can send y'all Africans to hell. So all the Africans get scared and they run to the church and start giving the white man their money. That's how slick though. That's how slick the Caucasian is. The Caucasian learned the Moorish teachings, our Jewish teachings. These fake Jews, we call Ashkenazi Jews, they from the Caucasus Mountain. They ain't no Jews. They Israelis. They fake Jews. They're not real Jews. But these people, yeah, they take our culture and our science and they tell us, I can trick you. When you die, you go into hell. I can't stop laughing. I wonder why everybody want to be a Christian. Because if you come and tell me, you African, you can die and go to hell with Satan with a pitchfork and his angels. If you don't follow this white Jesus, the people get scared. The Moorish people them cause it. They give these Caucasians some wisdom. The Caucasians get smart. And I know the white people who watching this, they killing themselves laughing too. Like, yeah, but that's true. That's just what we do. We take your knowledge out of Kemet, and then we switch it and trick y'all. And tell y'all when y'all die, you're going to heaven or hell. If y'all don't believe in this Jesus and give us your money every Sunday. It's sad, but that's what happens when you have this knowledge of good and evil and it get the wrong hands. Yeah, they manipulate, they oppress, they murder. Yeah, they trick you. Yeah, that's why God was adamant to suppress the teachings of all these science and things. Not because it didn't exist, but it's because when it get in the wrong hands, the people practice evil and witch the land and bring death and darkness and poverty, pollution. The people be cooked, doing all kind of wicked things in the name of religion, sacrificing children and thing, bro. It just get evil. They just go way out there with that knowledge. Oh, if I kill this child, then I can live forever. You see? Trying to live forever. Running away with this misconception. Too much knowledge. And no understanding. King Emmanuel say, you could get wisdom, you can get knowledge. But in all of that, you have to understand, bro. I could be a Kemetic priest. I could be a Dogon priest. I could be a voodoo priest. I could be any priest I want to be in the world. A Buddhist priest. I could practice all these science. Yeah, but at the end of the day, I choose the science of goodness. All of these have the science in it, good and bad. But Melchizedek just deal with goodness. We don't deal with bad science. We reject bad science across the board. Any science used to hurt anyone, to offend anyone, to aggress anyone, we reject that. And it's not the same for witchcraft. It's not the same for Obel. It's not the same for these other. Yeah, they're allowed to use their science to cheat you, to fix you, to cut you, to do wrong to you if they will, if you not protected. So part 9, the science is there, but it's there for good and evil. The tree of knowledge is there. You could eat it. The tree of knowledge of what? Good and evil. So King Emmanuel come with a righteous order that keeps us away from what? Evil science. Working science on people. Tricking your brother and lying to your brother. And throwing all kind of wood over their head. Messing with your brother, woman, and all these kind of different wicked science, bro. These science. Yeah, they science, bro. Yeah. Enough manipulation. You see the daughters, them dress a certain way. Science. To entice you and all these things. There's science to do certain things, bro. You could study these things. To wear a certain scent. All these things. Oh, hey, trust me, Jack. Certain crystal. You could do all these science, bro. You know, but Jah teaches, we use the science of life, which is righteousness. That's all he wanted Adam and Eve to do from the break. Use life and righteousness. Everything I teach you is righteousness. I'm not going to teach you no wrong. If you go eat off that tree of knowledge of good and evil, I hope you understand what you're dealing with. A lot of people like to go study different stuff, get involved in different religions, get involved in a lot of societies, but they don't know what they really stand for. And somewhere down the road, the knowledge, you start using it for bad because you're part of a religion and all this stuff. So, you know, we have to be careful. Yes, royal family, through the timing, only our kingdom will stand in this time. Yes, royal family. Yes, royal family, you know how it's be, bro. You know how it's be, bro. Just forgive and move on. You know what I mean? That's all we have to do. Yeah, because enough using the X knowledge. You know, they're using the knowledge to manipulate. That's what I say. To oppress, to do people wrong. And that's what Jah was fighting against from creation. Humans are very intelligent beings. You see? We were created that way. But the knowledge we achieve, we have to have an understanding. You know, with it, you know. So yes, royal family, that has been happening throughout the years, man. The misinformation the people are used, you see. But till such time, I think I and I gonna make a move. You know, I and I can cut and clear. We did an hour so far. Any questions before I cut and clear? Yeah, bro. Yeah, just move on, you know. Big it up, you know. Don't watch it, you know. Yeah, you can't do wrong and get right, you know, no matter how someone try, you know. So if someone do wrong, they can't get right. If someone do you wrong, they can't get right, you see. So no matter how hard they try, they got the biggest gun in the world. Yeah, just sweep them out. Yeah, they can't get away. That's the knowledge. Good is always over evil. That's what God was trying to teach Adam and Eve. Good is always over evil. Don't sweat yourself about learning evil. It's no good to you. Everything I teach you is good. Satan come teach them some stuff that they don't need. Oh, if you eat of it, you shall not surely die. You don't need to know that. Because that means you're going to go eat off this thing now and trick yourself. Because you don't understand how to move within that knowledge. And then you end up dying. Adam and Eve end up dying. I mean, however you look at it, you know, it's just metaphorically it's teaching us a lesson, you know. Yeah, just say take the good, let go the bad, you know. So almost natural, yeah. Just is a chosen few, just is a remnant and it's an elect saints. You know, it's people of justice, people with a heart. You see the heart again, the consciousness of who one is. Once one know who one is, the time we spend in there, what the flesh is and what the spirit is, then you could deal with people better. Yeah, you see? But the disconnection people have with themselves, who they are, what a soul is, all of this is allow people to do another person something wrong. When you look at another person, you understand that that is you. It's just another flesh. But it is you. It's only one spirit. They don't breathe a different breath than you. They breathe the same breath as you. You know, it's just a different flesh, but people don't see that. When they're hurting you, they don't even know they're hurting themselves. Yeah, they're hurting themselves because you is them. And if they can't understand them hurting you is hurting themselves, that's hurting themselves even more. Yeah. It's just lack of consciousness. So when we do each other's wrong, it's just lack of consciousness. You know. But we become aware that we is one spirit, different flesh. You know, which is kind of the same flesh too, just different shape. Nose look different eyes, but it's the same eyes, 2 eyes, nose. No one have 4 eyes. No one have 7 lips. There's no human got 16 hairs. We have all the same flesh, structure, just shape different. Same spirit from God. Some of us still lost, following bad knowledge, and some of us awakened to the truth in flesh. That's God in flesh. Moderate is God in flesh. Moderate is truth in flesh. Men are wrong is wrong in flesh. Misunderstanding in flesh. Confusion in flesh. You see all that stuff, yeah. Yes, Royal Family, as you can see, we got some blessed rain. The blessed showers come down. Yeah, so your blessings, you know, fall upon I and I. Or thank all ones on one same set where you won the chat today, all who come and watch the video. I know thousands of people don't come here and watch, but that's not what I look for, you know, as a bobo, I and I. Because Chad and tell I and I long time ago, you know, narrow is the way that lead to life. And very few people find it. Wide is the gate that lead to hell. And plenty people go therein. So people easily find like channels that talk about the vilest stuff. Women showing their nakedness, lords shooting, killing, all that kind of stuff. They get hundreds, millions of views. Because Hell Gate is open wide. People rush into that. But anytime you have the Bobo priest, you have God anointed, the 7 priests, any Bobo priest culturing the truth, you have a very few people come to find that. Yeah. Yeah, that's prophecy. It's prophecy. Yeah, people don't care for the truth in these times. People want to live in their life. You know, the whole world is built off a lie, Marcus Garvey said. So what do you think? You think the whole world want to come to reality? You know, the whole world want to come to the truth? That they wrong? And King Emmanuel right? Never. They rather go down that big gate. They rather continue to search on YouTube and watch junk and defilement and guile and all these different stuff and pour it into their souls. You know, so I give thanks for all who here. Yes, Royal Family. Yeah, who reason? Oh, Prophet Rothschild, I something else. Yeah, because you know the man them, I can be real, you know. The man them is who they is, bro. You know, and without the brethren here in the council, I couldn't really get into it. You know, but just say when we reasoning about someone, it's best to have them there to represent themselves, you know, in a conversation, you know, to bring a justice, even for them, so they could see where they could have gone wrong, you know, or where they could have gone right, you know. So, yeah, I understand enough. Yes, my Lord, but, you know, just whole understanding, like, the time gonna come, because every wrong up a draw up. You know, wrong is like oil, you know, and righteousness is like water. Oil is beat to the bottom for a little while, but after a while, the oil is draw up. It is show up to the top. So if anybody doing wrong secretly, you know, doing you wrong, and, you know, you may think people don't know, eventually that oil can float to the surface. And everybody can see that this person doing folly. You know, so just hold your right, let go of the wrong, you know, because the wrong can get dealt with eventually. Yeah, it can come to the surface, you see. Yeah, man, you done know. So, yeah, man, just hold faith, because see, Emmanuel is our savior. King Emmanuel come and teach us, Rastafari, Marcus. They teach us who we is as black people. So all these other people who come in after, you have a wise with them. You see, Christ said when he came into the earth and he taught people, many false prophets gone into the world. And say, yeah, Christ sent me to tell y'all. These people, he never even walk with Christ. These people in Christ, he ain't saying nothing to them. When they was around Christ, Christ telling them y'all do wicked. And they still slip road when ain't nobody looking and throw on their things and go on in the world and say, yeah, but it was around Christ, boy. And Christ teach me this. Christ tell me to do this. Christ tell me you could do this. Christ said they false prophets. I ain't send them. Oh, Jack, get time for the Persian. Yeah, Christ said I ain't send them. If you see King Emmanuel Charles Edwards, send someone, they come in his name, they come in his teachings, come in his culture. His philosophy, his curriculum, four-point agenda. If you see someone come to you and they talking about something that is not what King Emmanuel teach, who send them? Who they working for? Who's their boss? Who delegate them? Yeah, you have to be careful. Make sure they ain't no false prophet. Remember what I tell you? Just like Christ says, plenty of them. Yeah, they'll walk around Christ like they checking for what he say. And they just eating fish and bread. As soon as Christ make a move, they go in the world and say, yeah, he's one of Christ's disciples. Never listen to one word the man say. Because Christ is disciple and they around teaching people things that is not culture. It's not Emmanuel teaching. It's not what the man say out of his mouth. Not what he command and educate us to. It's Balaam culture, so that's the thing. You have to watch that. Some of them wait for the Illuminati, Freemason. Some of them wait for Kemet. Baphomet. They wait for the Roman Catholic Church. The sun worship teaching, all that stuff. That's Roman Catholic. That's Kemetic. So why is it all these different people with all these different teachings? Emmanuel never teach them things. Emmanuel wasn't dumb. He wasn't illiterate about these things. Emmanuel know about all these things these people be talking about. Yeah, Muslims, all these different religions, Emmanuel know of. Emmanuel's a very intelligent person. Emmanuel sit in the United Nations. Emmanuel sit with Queen Elizabeth and make her drop her little Percy, a little Britain Percy, and they flag. Emmanuel's not a passion man. He's not a jokey person. Man sit with all the heads of government. He sit with the emperor. The emperor gave him the highest seal. Come on, man. Yeah, so what Emmanuel teaching, little petty teachings? This is the wisest man in the world. King Emmanuel Charles Edwards. Yeah, the light of the world. You don't get brighter than King Emmanuel Charles Edwards. I'm busy. Y'all have a little priest later. They'll get me later. Get a little call later. My name. Call me back later. Okay, we got a little call coming in. So, yes, Royal Family, Black again. Yeah, so I don't get into too much back and forth about what Emmanuel ain't teach. I don't even waste my time with that. That's why I leave a lot of, consuls that don't consult what Emmanuel teach. All those gathering and consuls that talk about stuff that ain't got nothing to do with Emmanuel, I leave those consuls. Blessed is the man that walk not in the counsel of the ungodly. People are not dealing with what God teach. They are the ungodly. They teaching their own thing. I don't mix up with them. Just say be separated. Separate yourself from the X world. Yeah, I don't. So if you go around them, you can be in problems. Just in the secret of his pavilion, he shall hide me from the insurrection of the wicked. Wicked people is plot you out and try to cut you down, bro. Break your spirit and make you feel like a Satan flesh. Anywhere Jamie go, Satan follow your army round. Satan follow. Yeah, Satan try, in your normal everyday life, when you try to motivate yourself, when you try to get your life together, Satan be backing in your head. You ain't gonna make it and things tough. Satan just always around. Satan's just a negative energy. Is the bad side of life. You have to forsake it, let it go, and hold on to the light, Reason why I've no end, we got an hour and 10. Royal family, Majesty, and Prophet Rothschild. Yes, Royal family. Yeah. Who's Baba Shanti? They want to be Kemet priest, Balaam priest, Balak priest, voodoo priest, witchcraft priest, Obeah priest, Roman Catholic priest, Egyptian Orthodox priest, Ethiopian Orthodox priest, Bengi priest, Dogon priest. Any priest they want to be, they can be. A Buddhist priest, a Hindu priest. I's a Bobo Shanti priest. It's very different. I follow Emmanuel order. Bible and him book way. Yeah, not no other priest like the other priests in the world. And Emmanuel is not like none of them in the world. There's no one in the world like King Emmanuel. What's their name? Who's like unto the Son of God, the Son of Light? Ain't none like Emmanuel. That's the high priest of God. There's only one of them. Returning this time 7 times. One Melchizedek spirit. The perfected one. Perfect. You know the word perfect, man? He's the perfect one. If someone perfect, you don't get more perfect than perfect. You only could become perfect like the perfect one, but you can't be more perfect than perfection. But that's how they treat Emmanuel, Charles Edwards, like he was not perfect. Like he don't know what he was really teaching. There was more that needed to be known. There was more books that, King Emmanuel needs to meet Omar Johnson. King Emmanuel needs to meet, Ashra Kwesi and all these different Kemet teachers. Then King Emmanuel will understand Africa. The thing about it, half of the brothers that pushing this thing cannot read. R-E-A-D. Most people that study Kemetology, they can't read. They just go on YouTube all day and listen to what people say. You put a book in front of them, they cannot read that. But they could teach Kemet, but can't read. King Emmanuel could read. He's the reading ready man and the writing man. And he is exact with what he write. Bible and him book where he make no mistake. Burn Pharaoh, burn Egypt, burn Sodom, burn Gomorrah. No mistake there. Moses' law. Exodus 20, Exodus 20. I see the mistake because it's written. It's exact. But they online, people who cannot read or write, listening to people. Coming to King Emmanuel and say, Daddy, you don't know what you're talking about. This brethren down the road tell me, say, the Pharaohs is black. King Emmanuel is like, okay, I know that. All Africans black. From Cape to Cairo. Remember Emmanuel said that? From Cape to Cairo, black African. So how come y'all just find out the Pharaoh's black? Because y'all don't study Emmanuel, bro. You gotta study Egypt. You gotta study all these different religions. But y'all don't study Emmanuel order. Because if y'all study Emmanuel order, y'all will find out from a long time Emmanuel tell us the Pharaoh's black. Because he say Africa's black from Cape to Cairo. A Kebilon, black Jerusalem, black Addis Ababa. First ancient kingdom from Cape to Cairo. With black man ruling. We don't need Ashra Kwesi to teach us that. We don't need nobody to tell us that because we already were told that. How many people were listening to King Emmanuel? Fish and bread, yum, yum. Ha ha ha, fish and bread, yum, yum. No, listen. King Emmanuel come with teachings. When someone teaching you something, you gotta listen. Else when time to show yourself approved, you ain't gonna know what you're talking. Then you could be around here leading the people astray. You're a false prophet. But I, as a priest, a leading priest. Yes, you leading the people wrong. Mr. Leading Priest. Because you didn't study Emmanuel. You go on YouTube and different things and study these people. Now you following these people. And you don't even know where the hell you going. Because they don't know where they going. No one who study Kemet know where they going. Because there's nowhere to go. But to the grave, just like every Christian 6'6", and wait for resurrection. That's Kemetic teachings. No different than any other organization around the world. The afterlife. Where your heart. So, give me Emmanuel, man. Give me that all-time salvation. People say 2023. So what? God don't change. You see the earth change? Ain't nothing change on the earth. Rain still wet. The sun still hot. Ice still cold. I don't care what year it is. Rain still wet. Ice still cold. And the sun still hot. So what changing? People changing their gender. That's what the hell changing. Nothing changing around here. God changed not. Yeah, the earth don't change. Yeah. People changing. People change, but Lord, your love remain the same. People change. Even Fanta and Mojo change. Because when he first come out, he's blowing on. When I rise, he changed. Now he got vodka bottle and Hennessy with strippers. But God don't change, brother. Yeah. He can have any time and go do what he feel like. But King Emmanuel don't change. King Emmanuel order remain the same. Yeah, he's a fallen bobo. He doing what he feel like, but that's not Emmanuel. You never see Emmanuel with a bottle of Hennessy and strippers. That's not the high priest. That's the difference, so yes, my Lord, don't follow these people, my Lord. Yeah, well, reggae so say the beat and all of that, but we didn't get into that. But yeah, it's just to show you, man, real talk, real family. Buy reggae, buy reggae. But don't say the word, just say the word is still song, it's still power. Word is life. Good words is life. Bad word, death. Good music, life. Bad music, death. You see, so good words still song and power, so. Yeah, through the understanding, yeah, people change, but yeah, Jah ain't changing, man. The world ain't going nowhere. A little earthquake, a little lightning, a little thunder, a little brimstone. Why? He said he did that to put the people in fear. Go read it in Exodus. Exodus 20, say the mountain smoke. Volcano busts off around the children of Israel. And lava starts flowing. Earthquake and it swallow up a tribe, a Dayton. Earthquake, volcano at the presence of the God of Jacob. But he said he do that to put the fear in the people. And some of them still ain't fear, so he swallowed them up. Yeah, he let them fall in the sinkhole. Yeah, because they still didn't fear, even though he come before them with fear and trembling, with judgment, with wrath. So right now, today, the earth is shaken at the presence of the God of Jacob. That's Rastafari. King Rastafari is the God of Jacob. Jacob is Israel. Israel God is Selassie, the triple crown God, Jehovah Yahweh. Psalm 68, who write it on the heavens by his name? Jah, Rastafari. We in the days of Jacob's father, the king reigning, so what? The mountain can smoke. Even Sinai itself can move at the presence of God at Jacob. It have to. Rastafari reached the whole earth just shaking to put the people in fear. So the nations, Ukraine and Russia and China and America, can know themselves to be but mere men. When they see all these tsunami carry millions of the people and plagues, and it's to remind Pharaoh and his army, you're just men. I bigger than you. I's the essence. I's the consciousness. I control the clouds and the lightning and the thunder and the earthquake. I am everything you see. You's a little man, bro. So God will continue to shake this earth, plague it, pestilence, famine. The God of Jacob, until the people submit themselves with pieces of silver for the atrocities of slavery, for the 16th century slave trade, of the blackouts of Israelite black African coming into the Western region through the Roman Catholic Church and the European nations, they can get put in fear until they submit themselves with pieces of silver. God can scatter the people that delight in war. Watch. Night is coming down, forward, the hour's gone, so I can cut and clear. We can leave it just like that, as the down setting coming. We ain't turning on no lights right now. We have light, right now, but, where I'm sitting right now, we just gonna go with the flow, well, well, just say every man have to seek their salvation with fear and trembling. Every man and woman is responsible for their own salvation. So what gonna happen to Fanton? What gonna happen to Sizzler? What happened to Caper? And I sure as hell know what gonna happen to Priest Caswell. Because Priest Caswell can keep God's commandment, and he that trust in the Lord shall be like Mount Zion, that cannot be removed, that abide forever. So people who tell you this world can be destroyed and going somewhere, no. Mount Zion cannot be removed. It abide forever. The Bible tells us that. Yeah, so that's how we stand, like the rock of Gibraltar. We stand as Mount Zion. We cannot be removed. But all of those who trust in princes, trust in their guns, trust in their money, trust in their gods, idols, yeah, well, that's on them. On the black Christ, the solid rock, I stand. All of the ground, not some of them, all of the ground is sinking sand. Look at it for yourself. Look at it for yourself. Peace and love. Rastafari love. Give thanks for all who watch. Give thanks for all who participate. Yes, I know it's supposed to be a Q&A. We did our best. It's our first Q&A. It was nice to have everyone questioning. We're not going to be able to get all the questions all the time. We're not going to be able to reason on all the questions all the time, the comments, but, for the sake of time. Yes, Royal Family, let's hear what Honorable Kim Rastafari, loving the show. I have a question, though, about Emmanuel I. If Selassie is Christ, it's kingly character, where does that leave Holy Emmanuel I? Okay, Bloodshot Tripper, Kim Rastafari, what I'm going to do for the eye when I post the video. Yeah, please do this for me. Go into the comment section. I'll post it to your comment, or I'll post it to the comment section and pin it to the top. I have an actual whole video explaining, the difference between the emperor and actual King Emmanuel himself. I understand the question, and like I say, it'll take a whole video to actually get into it. So I'll go ahead and I'll pin it in the comment section. I'll actually put it in the description also. And make sure that you have a chance to go ahead and watch that. The video totally explains, the emperor on the throne as the father, and the Lamb, Melchizedek, King Emmanuel, in the midst of the throne as the Lamb. That's Revelation chapter 5 and 5. You see? A lot of people say Christ and his kingly character, but like I say, the video will give you a great understanding straight up, so we don't have to go into it right now and now. So yes, I give thanks for the question. Until next time, until we do our next Q&A, you could write down any questions that come to your mind along the way. And, when we do the Q&A, you can remember, just pull it up and, we can deal with it. If I don't have the answer, you may have the answer, or someone on the chat may have the answer, or we may have to go look for the answer. But the truth is what we always seeking. Black again, heart of love, peace and love, blessed love, heart of love, Mackinsai, heart of love, blessed love. Give thanks for watching, give thanks for coming in. Y'all don't forget to hit the subscribe button, don't forget to share, don't forget to hit the like button. So when I post new videos, y'all could be up on it. Again, I pardon for the earlier video today, but everything in the hands of God. John know better, and until next time, I don't want to leave, but it's a time for everything, So reason no have no end. Peace and love. Take care of yourself. Black up yourself. Most naturally, we can get into it. Just go ahead and watch the video, and it's just all gonna make just common sense, biblical common sense. And all the confusion gonna roll away. There was a lot of false prophets that taught about the emperor, but they didn't know what they was teaching. They didn't take time to listen to the emperor. They was just, see me out of lights, y'all can barely see me now. I'm gonna make a move. Peace and love, Rastafari. Love, love, love. Another video with the priest. Love again, black again, love, love, love. Peace and love, all of the love.